but the overall actual like advanced hard work training has been done. Hey guys, it's Hope. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today we are going to do another Q&A video. I've had a couple of questions piling up in my comment section, so I thought, hey, why not? I'll go ahead and answer these questions. But first, I just wanted to let everybody know that, thank you so much for all of your support, and I am so grateful to say that my guide dog leader has made it home, and we are enjoying each other's company, and I'm so excited to get back and work with him and everything like that. So let's go ahead and get started with these questions that you all had. The first question came from my video where I ran errands without my guide dog. And basically the question was, if there are bus stops on both sides of the street and there are multiple bus stops, how do you train your dog to target different bus stops that you need for different places? And that is a really good question. So a lot of times I use Google Maps and things like that to kind of find where I need to go and what bus I need to be on. Sometimes it can get a little confusing, as you saw in that other video. If you haven't seen the video, I will link it down below, but feel free to check that out. But anyways, yes, I did get confused. I got on the wrong bus. I also didn't have my dog, but honestly, he can't even tell me where I'm supposed to go anyway. So he doesn't know like where the bus stops are. That's my job. But if we go to certain places multiple times and we're constantly going to those places, then eventually I can start saying things like, let's go find X place. And then I can teach him the route as we go. Let's just say I'm trying to go to the mall, right? I don't usually shop, but let's say I'm trying to go to the mall. If I go to the mall multiple times and I know the route, I can say, find the mall. And then as I'm doing that, I can say, forward, left, right, left, find the bus stop. Find the bus stop. And as we're walking to the bus stop, I find the bus stop. And then as he reaches it, yes, good dog, find the bus stop. He knows that's his word. He's like, I get food when you say that word. He knows that he gets food when he hears the word yes. So that's why he's like, food? Yes, please. So anyways, yes, so I can teach him, how to find stuff by cueing him to find it and then giving him the right directions to get there. So that's how I would do that. And then as I'm like going to the mall, I can say, find the bus stop, find the mall, find the bus stop, find the mall. And so maybe eventually after a little bit of time, he will be able to find the mall when I say find the mall. And then he will be able to follow that route because we've done it so many different times. And then same thing for going home. I would be able to navigate myself home, and as I'm navigating home, I would just keep saying, find home, find home, find home. And then eventually he will start to learn the route home. So that's kind of the short answer of it. If you have questions or want to know like how I specifically train my dog to target different things like trash cans, bus stops, stores, stuff like that, let me know and I'll be happy to explain more in another video. But for now, that's the answer. Question number 2 came from my what guide dog training was like video, and it was just asking, when did you start bonding with your dog? When did you feel like you kind of clicked? And that's a really, really good question. And the answer is it took a while. I think that I felt really comfortable with him as my dog. Like I was like, yes, this is my dog, very, very quickly. But the trust and the bond and us working together as a team kind of was a gradual thing. It started making sense over a couple of years, and it took us a little bit to get the rhythm down and to understand each other and to really try to figure out like what we were doing together and how we were going to do things together. And so I remember for the first couple of months, it was a little bit difficult and I wasn't really sure how I could use him in my everyday life. And then as I kind of started using him over time, I kind of learned, okay, he is not only my guide dog, not only my navigation tool, but he is also my companion. He keeps me grounded emotionally, physically, And I just was able to bond with him more as I learned more about that. And so just different things along the way and different circumstances that really helped us bond together. Like the fact that he was able to find places that we'd never been to before. Like we'd walk in one time and then he'd come back and find it again. Or the time when I figured out that I could teach him that my stuff meant go find the location where we last were, and he would just go ahead and do that. There's just things like that that I was learning that he could do. And the more and more I knew how much he could help me, the more I appreciated him. And our bond just grew over time. And as soon as we met, we clicked. It was a very strong bond. But I think the guide dog team aspect took a little bit longer. And especially because I am visually impaired, I have some remaining vision left, which means that sometimes it's easy for me to see a step or see a curb or see something and just kind of squeeze my way around it or step off the curb or whatever. And I learned very quickly that that's not a good way to go, because sometimes he would miss things that I wouldn't be able to see because he assumed that I could see them. So just learning more and more about I need to really go on autopilot and make sure that I am not doing the work for him. So in essence, it was a learning experience about how to bond and work with my dog, but it was also very instantaneous at the same time. If you have questions about that, let me know in the comment section below. Okay, question number 3. What career field did you pick? I love helping people, and so I was able to get into a career where I help college students, recent graduates, everybody else find jobs and internships and all kinds of opportunities, and it's such a fun place to work, and I love my team. If you haven't seen the short where I talk about Leader's Surgery and I talk about how the team really stepped up and kind of gave me a little get well card for him and everything, you should check that out. It's really cute. I will link that in the description box below. Question number 4 is a really good question. Essentially, it says, will you ever train your own guide dog? And I think that the answer would be no, because I don't want to mess up the training. I know that generalization and things like that take a very long time to train. And I also know that if you're training your own guide dog, that means that you have to also find your own guide dog. There's a lot of temperament testing. There's a lot of complexities that go into finding a guide dog. And so I know also that like a lot of puppies who get trained, eventually, sometimes they will fail out and they'll fail one of their tests or things like that. And so it'd be really devastating to train a dog up, try to raise it the best I could, and then start doing those temperament testings and things like that and realize that the dog is actually not a good fit for the task that I wanted to train him for and things like that. And it takes a year to train the dog to become proficient at just public access and basic obedience. Then you have to go through those tests that I was talking about. And then you have to start training on the harness and things like that. The other thing that I think about is in order for the dog to know how to stop at curbs, how to stop at steps, how to warn about different obstacles and stuff like that, I would have to do multiple repetitions in multiple different places, in unfamiliar places as well, because I want to make sure that my dog knows how to do it when I can't help him. And then after all of that, then he would be a well-trained guide dog. But the other thing is that I can't necessarily see where the steps are, what's going on. And especially in an unfamiliar environment, that's why I need the guide dog, because I can't see what's going on around me, or I can't see the steps or the curbs that I'm supposed to be avoiding. And so trying to train my own guide dog to do those kinds of tasks, to do intelligent disobedience when they see that there's a step coming, or to make sure to avoid whatever obstacle is in my way in an unfamiliar area, that would be really tricky for me to train, I think, just because I don't really have the experience, nor do I have necessarily the vision that it would take for me to train in a different area. I know guide dog handlers will train their own dogs, and I absolutely respect them for that, and I think that that is amazing. I would love to train my own guide dog as a trainer, But as a visually impaired person who doesn't necessarily feel as comfortable and wants a fully trained guide dog whenever I start working it, I don't think that for me, it would be wise for me to train my own guide dog. The other thing is I don't really have peripheral vision. I don't really have a lot of vision necessarily. And so I think that when it came to training my dog to cross streets, training my dog to intelligently disobey me when there's a car coming, I think that would be very difficult. And I definitely don't want anything to go wrong during that training. And so I would want to make sure that it was a fully trained guide dog and that all I had to do was maybe some tweaks, or maybe like, okay, I like when the dog does this better, or I like this better, and training the dog into those behaviors. But the overall actual like advanced hard work training has been done. So those are just my thoughts. Again, I know of people who have trained their own guide dogs, and I think it's amazing. Go them. So anyways, if you have more questions about that, leave those in the comment section below. Okay, last question. Question number 5 comes from my retirement video. Again, if you haven't seen my retirement video, I'll go ahead and link that below as well. But essentially the question is, how long do you have to wait for a guide dog? And the answer is, I don't necessarily know. I'm guessing that once I fill out an application and I'm ready to go in for my second guide dog, I would need to wait a little bit because I would need to get matched to a dog, and then they would also need to find an open class for me as well. So those are just kind of my thoughts. So maybe I was thinking like a year I would probably need to wait for my next guide dog. So again, if you have questions about that, leave those in the comments below. I hope that you all enjoyed this video of me just sitting down answering some questions that you all had. Please let me know if you have any more questions on any of that, and I hope that you all have a very sunny weekend that is just perfect and the weather is nice and you can go outside and enjoy, because it's been a little cold and weird the last week or two. It's been like good weather, bad weather, good weather, bad weather. So I just hope that you're able to get outside and enjoy the sun this weekend or this week or whatever. And until then, I will see you all in my next video. Have a great day.